Oh, rookie mistake. I should have got this ready first. Here, let's do this. All right. What up, guys? Tonight, welcome to the... Sorry, I'm a little sick, man, so my voice is going to sound like shit, but tonight I have my first ever guest. Let me send him his link. Should have done that ahead of time, but, you know, I'm a noob. Have some grace for me. But it is Eric J. Crew from Creative Juggernaut, and we're going to be talking about the tabletop war game for Land and Sea. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Who knows? We might actually have. I guess I could probably move over to this screen until he hops in. Unlock Discord with... No, I don't want to do that. Don't want to use Discord right now. Not what I'm doing. Let's see here. Yeah, I think we're good, dude. Don't need that notification. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the starting soon screen until I see homeboy pop in. Can you hear me? Oh, hold on, what's going on? I can't hear you. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Can you hear me? I can hear you perfect now. I'm quiet though. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I lost you. Uh-oh. Oh no, technical difficulties. Let's generate a new link. Copy. What is the dealio here? It's not hidden. Oh no. Let's bring that in closer. All right, let's try again. Let's try. What's that? Oh, this is. I'm not using this mic. I have a. Is it? Okay. Yeah, 'cause I think it's cranked all the way up on my thing. Okay. Yeah, I can still hear you. Still quiet? Okay. Looks like we got Marshall in the chat. All right. So what's up? My name's Bruce. I've talked to you quite a bit in the Discord. But you're Eric Crew, right? For those who don't know. Cool. Well, I don't really know much about you other than what I've read on the Creative Juggernaut website. I guess I don't know. Do you want? Do you want? It's a yeah. I know you're an IT guy and you work with the tabletop game, right? Yeah. 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 Yeah, the old rule of cool. Uh, it says you're muted, but I can hear you, and I don't have you muted on my thing. The chat's saying you're muted. Oh, oh man, I can hear. Yeah, that is weird. Um, well, let me check my audio source real quick. I guess audio output capture. Let me see if that'll help. Can you guys hear him now?
Marco, Marshall, are you there?
We got meltdown and Marshall.
This is gonna be interesting because I'm directly on the Discord too, so I'm looking for what they're sharing there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't want to go too far if they can't hear you. Okay, they can hear you.
I know.
Yeah, I think I just didn't have the audio output capture, I guess. My bad.
All
I'm new
right.
at this. You're the first ever person on my stream, so kind of a big deal.
Well, all right. Well, you're the first stream I've been on for any of this stuff, so
Nice.
it's new for both of us.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with tabletop is just D&D for me. That's all I've really done. I've done one game of Warhammer, and sorry, I was
Hmm.
just sick, so my voice is like toast. Um, but yeah, I'm really intrigued to learn more about. First of all, what's it actually going to be called? Like, what's the Land and Sea war game? Like, does it have a specific name?
Yeah, so we that's a great topic to get into because it's actually and double checking we're are we good on audio now?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I'm not getting any chat for this stream. I'm only seeing it kind of on Discord just to
Oh,
let
okay.
people know. But don't put anything Discord. Definitely stay on the chat so that other people later will be able to see what was actually being said. So
Okay.
um, the the game is actually we're going to be releasing three games. It is a full game system that is going to have multiple games released within it. And those three games are all using the same engine. And that's one of the reasons why it's taking a little bit of time to develop is everything is being essentially built within the rules of the role-playing game.
Oh, okay.
So everything is being built as if it were part of the role-playing game. And then each basically tier as you move into the three different levels. So it's the role-playing game, a tabletop miniatures tactical game, and then you have the full war game. And all three of those are essentially using the exact same uh, like rule-based slash development system.
Wow.
So when we take, say, Kane from the books and or a crab from the books, and
Hmm.
we create that character in the role-playing system, and then when you take that, you can then play it in a full in-depth role-playing game. You can actually do that. There's a lot of tracking, like but what we found is, being longtime gamers, you know that uh, there are different types of people who like different types of gaming. You have the
Yeah.
role playing, like they want to keep track of, no, no, I shot three bullets out of this
Yeah.
specific magazine, and then I swapped magazines because I needed to make sure, like I wasn't going to reload. I just swapped magazines because I'm going to come back, and like I'm going to need to just quickly get this out of there. But then when I come back and I load that one back in, I'm three down, right? Like
Yeah.
so there's a full level of tracking that like, oh, this particular piece of armor has taken this amount of damage, and I'm gonna like be rotating my body to try and take damage in different areas, like getting shot from this other side. Um, but then you have like those types of games take a long time. People build
Yeah.
their characters. You sit down. It's going to be hours of gameplay. People like spend like no, hey, I'm going to be going over and gaming Saturday night.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But then we've taken those and then like we've found a way to summarize that in a way that still meets all of that kind of look and feel, especially of the books and what we were going for a game, to play in, kind of squad on squad, that style of battle. And that's the first one that we're going to be releasing is that tabletop tactical miniatures game, or we just TTMG. So it is the Land and Sea game, and it is that tabletop tactical miniatures game is the first one we will be releasing, and it takes all of that stuff from the role playing game and summarizes it just a bit to make that gameplay fast. So that, again, I'm now controlling 4 to 8 units, those 4 to 8 units versus your 4 to 8 units, and we're going to play. And the goal of that style of game was to get through like an actual scenario in about 15 minutes to a half an hour. Okay. So we wanted to get people to really like just be playing and rolling and playing and rolling, and you're focused more on strategy of and at the level of tactics of strategy.
Yeah.
And then the last version of it is that war game, which is going to be more focused on people who do like the Warhammer 40K. And that gets into, again, like a larger scale battle, not just in scale of number of units, but then by time. And we wanted to make sure that when you got even to that, the game didn't bog down. So it summarizes it even more from the miniatures game to just be, again, like I'm rolling and having to keep track of less things on both sides of both offense and defense. And we wanted to then focus on, almost like the war style game of these, instead of role-playing game, I am this character, I'm only managing this character, I'm going to manage everything about this character, to the TTMG, I've got these 4 characters, and I'm going to just move them independently, and we've got a squad, trying to move into an area or extract something out. And then the war game is, instead of those 4 units in that squad moving independently, essentially that is a squad now. And so I'm going to move this squad, and they're going to do something to try and achieve an objective, which could be taking out a target. It could be, planting bombs. It could be whatever. But it becomes an actual that war scale game. But you're not having to track each individual character and like literally everything that they're firing. Like, no, that would take forever.
Yeah.
But one of the benefits of the system is, and all of it is actually interchangeable. So if you wanted, as like a full hardcore gamer, like, we're going to set up a campaign, but the campaign is literally just one battle. And we're going to do a war scale game, and we're going to set everything up, and it's going to be, 100 units on 100 units, or X number of points, essentially, or waves, or whatever you want to do from that scenario. And you're like, yeah, no, but I'm tracking everything. I can literally still have the RPG character sheets for every single one of those units and track that. Yeah. If you're a masochist, which some of us are, don't get me wrong. Some people are like, oh, no, I'm playing the miniatures game, the 4-on-4, but no, it's every single one of those. And we're going to spend 2-4 hours, going back and forth. That, like, one of the things that, we really wanted to focus on was letting people play the way that they want to play. Like, different people enjoy different things, and really allowing people to just, again, focus on that. If you wanted to do the RPG but summarize it and just use the miniatures one and focus more on like a storytelling element, but just summarize it so you're not having to track all of that. You can just use the TTMG rule set to just play through scenarios, or basically role play up until you get to, we've gotten to a larger battle.
Yeah.
And like we literally, like, we ran into the corner, there's a whole bunch of things, like, oh crap. So instead of spending the next 8 hours doing the role playing through this, we're gonna basically go to the TTMG, and I guess the battle master would be say, okay, great. If you're saying what you're trying to do is not battle everybody, you're just trying to escape through this, there's a battle happening, and you're just like sneaking through, like, we got to get to the other side, I'm not trying to engage. Like, you can run that as basically a mini scenario in any one of those formats of the game, and just everything summarizes to just be able to, like, okay, yeah, then here are your roles to move through and to get through that quickly.
Yeah, that sounds very dynamic. I like the way that sounds.
Yeah, and so that it's all based off of the ACE system, is what we're calling it, and that's basically it's based off of the 3 things that are needed in any given chance, like any given thing that you're attempting, the 3 things that are needed to, like, or that are modify the outcome, which is your abilities, the circumstances, and your equipment. And so each one of those are basically where the modifiers come from as you get better in your abilities, as circumstances change around you, as your equipment changes. Like, those are the things that actually modify your abilities to succeed in anything from combats to life. And so that, like, that's why that role playing system, it doesn't matter whether you're doing something that's challenging mentally or challenging physically, or, like that, excuse me, going into luck based stuff, because it's gaming and there's
Yeah.
always an element of luck involved, not just in that, in life, but, you talk to a lot of military, and, sometimes they'll just say, like, I don't know how, yeah, I got out of there, or this person didn't, because,
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
So is that you said it was the ACE system? Is that something that you guys created, or is that just like a pre-existing system that you guys just liked?
No, it is our system. So that's something I put together. So Brent came to me around with the land and sea concept about 10 years ago. That's how long this has been kind of like on our minds, and starting to look at. And then when he pitched that to Blaine, it was just such an excellent like meeting of minds, where, they've talked about it before, where they met up and they're like, oh, hey, let's collaborate on something. And Blaine says, hey, I've got a couple things that here's what I think about. And Brett's like, hey, I've got this idea for this. And Blaine's like, let's do that. And we were like, yeah, oh my God, this is awesome. So we started doing that, and we looked at a couple different game developers to kind of come in and pitch some stuff around the IP and how it would work. And we, like, some of them were cool, but it just didn't match exactly what we were going for with the feel of the books. The ACE system is based entirely in science and reality. I'm a data nerd, so I went through and things like your chances of success for doing things. Again, like, this is primarily a battle system. Like,
Yeah.
we'll be honest, we're playing this for the battle system, not just the role playing and whatever.
Yeah.
But the ACE system, when it comes to things like battle and your stats, are all based off of like full reality. And so when you want to scale it to be a simpler or more difficult game, there's a way to scale it to just like, so for instance, in reality, people would not have fun. And
Yeah.
when we say, like, you have to have some form of abstraction or some form of making it easier, scaling difficulty type of thing.
Mhm.
But like, when we go through and you look at the statistics of, say, so law enforcement, right? So trained people, so law enforcement and military. The law enforcement in the United States has a goal that essentially no police department actually meets, which is the accuracy within a firefight. And that is, their goal is to reach a 50% accuracy. Now, that's not 50% of every shot. Their definition of this is, in a firefight, I need to have hit you at some point, and that has to be 50% of the time. Like, but like, you hear these stories all over the place. I'm from Seattle, or at least I've been here, 30 something years. And we had this one, like, an actual firefight between, I think it was 6 police officers and 1 other gunman. And the police fired, I want to say, something like 200 rounds from the 6 police officers and didn't hit once. It just, not once. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna laugh at that. But then as a gamer, I'm like, one, here's the reality. And you think of, like, in combat theaters around the world,
Yeah.
like, how many bullets are fired downfield, and how many of them actually strike home, and then of those, which of them actually do any damage? Like,
Yeah.
you're just like, eh. And like, but as a gamer, you're like, that's not fun. I don't want to roll all freaking day long.
Yeah.
And then like, well, what'd you do today? Well, I emptied 5 magazines. And how'd you, many you hit? Like, 2. You hit 2 mag? No, I hit 2 rounds out of all. Like, so, even though, like, in the rule book, it'll drive into where the science behind, like, these numbers come from. Things like the speed of a human unit, right, is based off of, like, in the ACE system, it's like kind of 0 to 100 is the ability for each of the individual, like, so physical speed. In physical speed, the top human speed is 100. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't go above 100, but the top human peak physical condition speed is 100. So that speed is based off of Usain Bolt, literally the fastest man alive, right?
Mhm.
And so that is 100 for the scale that we started this on.
Okay.
And then you're like, okay, got it. So then you have from the books, you've got the foxes. Well, the foxes are really freaking fast, right? And they're nimble. So, of course, they're going to have a higher than 100 speed. They're running faster than humans run.
Yeah.
So they're faster. You have things like the crabs and the physical damage that they do because their physical strength. Uh, and I was like, okay, so what's the highest human physical strength, right? Who is the strongest man who has ever existed?
Yeah.
And like we take that and we're like, okay, great, that's 100. Now, doing the math on going out and like, okay, comparatively, what's the grip strength as a multiplier for this crab, on regular crab size this? Like, how many psi do they get to actually, like tons per square inch, do they get on their claws? They're like, okay, great. Then a crab, when it's scaled up to this size, is literally going to be this strong. So you have like all of this stuff. I'm a nerd. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Everything's based off of, full reality. But again, then you've got to take that and be like, okay, but now let's make it fun, right? So if you want to play like a really realistic game within a role-playing game, especially, again, you just leave it at the base modifier. But then you're like, okay, well, the TTMG designed to go faster, its default is like basically 2 scales easier in terms of like, we want things to happen quickly. So we're just going to scale that and make it run a little bit faster. And it also feels better as a player group.
Yeah. Just taking out all the missed shots, getting that out of the way.
Yeah, yeah, and then making it also, and this is one of those ones where Brent had called out this one. It's like when you do hit, you want it to mean something. You want to like, okay, I shot you, and then you're like, okay, well, and it deflects off. You're like, oh, crap. And we've all been there in games. You said you're a D&D player. You're like, okay, like I finally hit. You're like, okay, but it does nothing. You're like,
Yeah.
like, okay, so you can play anime scale, right? Like, oh, all it did was piss them off. Like, okay, but at the same time, you think of if those, I'm not giving out spoilers, but if you read the books, the bosses, right? The bosses, they're the aliens in the series are deep underwater species that have, that are genetically engineered. Their armors and their shells are designed to withstand the pressures of the deep.
Yeah.
So those bosses have that armor that's just thick. I mean, you're shooting them, and you see and hear in like the books, these bullets will just ricochet off. They're nice organic shapes, so it's just hard to get purchase on any of these things. And again, like even 45s are bouncing off of these things. So like we wanted to again have a game or a game system that matched the look and feel of the theater of combat that we describe in the books. And Blaine, I think, has done such an amazing job of the nitty gritty, like it's war, right? It is war. And so you don't know who's going to survive because at any point in time, like I said, there's just that factor of like, it was their time, it wasn't my time, or it was my time, it's not their time. And so, he had tasked me with like, how do we make sure that when you're playing this game, it matches that both the grittiness and the speed at which things occur within any one of the combat situations.
Yeah.
And so we really kind of like leaned into that hard. And so when I hit you, and I think it's been shared a little bit on the Discord and a couple other places, somebody just shared it out on Twitter, or X, whatever it's called now, where you've got the character sheets that are how damage is applied. And that was one of the things that we again tried to redo is think of how do we want to track damage? How do you want to track stats, vitals, all these other things? And so we came up with this system of damage that tried to make it move quickly, but have, again, when you get a hit, have it mean something.
Yeah.
Even if that thing is literally just, I've been shooting that same spot of armor, and it's just slowly whittled, like it's making that thing weaker. I think of like John Wick, right? He's like, yes, even when he's wearing the bulletproof suit, like, yeah, but if you keep hitting the same spot, or like in a bulletproof car in the windshield or whatever, if you keep hitting a spot, it'll eventually get through. So we wanted to make that feel, again, like you're still doing something, even if I hit that the crab in its most chitinous part, it's just eventually, unless you're shooting it with a 22 or a BB gun, you're going to eventually get through.
Are you guys thinking about? I heard you say Battle Master. You thinking about making that title be Battle Space Commander, maybe for the
Yeah.
game?
So yes. So yeah, battle space is what we actually call the field. So you
Okay.
are 100% correct in that terminology. As far as the name of that role, not set on anything yet. Battle Space Commander, again, that absolutely just matches with the look and feel of what we're going for.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the ones that we've kind of spitballed and thrown around. I come from, like I said, way back in the day, Dungeon Master is like, I'm literally like, the DM, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's literally what everybody's going to call it, what they grew up calling it anyway. They're
Yeah.
like, it's, and then, yeah, I play a lot of BattleTech still right now. So, like the Battle Master being that kind of that term for what we use there. And yeah, but Battle Space Commander is, or yeah, what are we going to do? BSC now? Just
BS.
abbreviate it throughout the books. There we go.
The Bisque. Let's see. Meltdown asked, so this A system will be consistent between all models of play, which it sounds like it will be.
Correct. So yeah, the scale of the actual units is the same throughout. So when you're playing the role-playing game and you want to use miniatures, it is the same miniatures all the way up to the battle space scale game. And that's what we call the war game, is battle space scale.
Okay.
And then, like I said, everything, even at that battle space scale, all of those units, all of the abilities, all of those things that would be summarized there are developed all the way down in the RPG. So things like when you have a unit who has, and when I say unit, so when you have a character, we'll start from that. When you have a character who's, basically, let's take a Marine grunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've been well enough trained in our assault rifle. They're well enough trained in their sidearm. They're well enough trained in battle tactics. They're well enough, like their cardio, basically, like, so they've got pretty good stats around compared to a normal average human off of the street. And excuse me. And they're going to have certain abilities, like things like proficiency with a specific weapon system.
Yeah.
And so you'll see, like in the role-playing game, they have that there, and then that means something. Basically, it's on their card, so their base numbers for doing their attack in the miniatures game is, modified based off of that. And it's the same kind of modifier that you would get in the role-playing game, but again, just summarize because we're not rolling as much. And then those things that, like on the individual characters for a squad, those work together to create the modifiers for when that whole squad or that unit tries to accomplish something at the battle space scale. So again, and you have things like squads have how well they work together, the rapport, and like how good they have been able to train together, and it's cohesion is what we call it, and that cohesion makes it so that their stats actually help each other when they actually move into that battle space scale. Like when the squad is trying to accomplish something, like if you have a whole bunch of characters and there are excellent stats on them, but they have a crap cohesion for that unit, like they're just not going to be able to actually accomplish the objective that they're trying to accomplish, as well as maybe a squad that just isn't quite as good, like high level, but they don't have but they have an amazing cohesion. They've been working together for a really long time. They trust each other. And it's like, you get to things like one of the scenarios that I had ran to show kind of like how movement occurs is literally like the military obstacle course.
Yeah.
And showing that like you might not be able to accomplish it without helping each other as the individual characters in the squad. Like you get to the wall and you got to lift somebody up and over. Well, you actually succeeding is like, the more you keep trying it, the better you get at it. Yeah. And then like, okay, got it. So those characters, like they start to mesh, and you see this like when in the military where people who work together, like that's one of the things that break down, build you back up as a squad, break you back, or build you back up as a team. And so we wanted to have that to be one of the factors in the game of, you see that even non-military, you take out look at CC and the rest of their team. You're like, you just start to learn, and work together as to what this means, and you succeed better as a team by continually supporting each other. And that gets into like even further, just diving into like the role playing game. One of the things that Brent had tasked me with a really long time ago was, and then with Blaine especially talking about the realism of this is, especially within the role playing game, it's not just about battle,
Yeah.
right? You need time to sleep, you need time to recover, and recover isn't just from fatigue. Like there's mental fatigue, there's physical fatigue, there's emotional fatigue, and so we are building into when we get finally start to release the role playing game. There's things like PTSD,
Yeah.
like when situations happen for that character and they barely escape, or they lose somebody, like there's a mental component to this game that um it impacts your ability to do things if that's ever triggered. And so, but it's not just like, oh, now that's a detriment for that character. There's actually
Yeah.
some things that come along with like the PTSD elements. Like you learn something, but you actually literally have to process through that. And once you process through that, you get triggered less, but you still have the benefit from what that PTSD caused, like the ability to just have maybe better peripheral. Like
Yeah.
I'll never get jumped from that again, right? And so like for a little while, when you're out and about, while you still have, like, you haven't been able to work through it yet, and even a friendly unit steps up behind you, it can trigger you, and you can like screw up that round. Like, sorry, it's what
Yeah.
happened. Like, I'm surprised. Oh crap!
Yeah.
And then I failed doing what I'm trying to do. But when you actually process through the trauma, you're like, yeah, but the same reason why you were able to pick them up. Now I know that's a friendly. Now I know that's an enemy. And you start to get better at what is happening
Yeah.
with your life,
Yeah.
and within war or battle, or anything else. So
It's like
the role
Falto's.
playing game.
I was gonna say,
So
it's like Falto's struggle in Tides of Redemption.
yes, absolutely. And so, like I said, what we tried to do is with the gaming system, just create something that made it so that the books came alive, so that we could have fans and people feel like they were part of it. And you'll see that in, like, I guess, even how we're constantly interacting with our fans right
Oh
now.
yeah.
Like it's one of our goals as a company. It's not just uh we're creating this thing and then send it out and like we hope you like it. Like, no, we hope you like we want you, like
Yeah.
we're fans. Like I'm a total fan of the series, of Blaine, and of Brent, and so we're constantly fanboying off of each other, and trying to make it so that all of these things are again, like, feel like land and sea.
Yeah, you guys are definitely killing it on the fan engagement side of things, and yeah, I'm super hooked on Land and Sea. By the way, I love it.
Oh,
Can't wait to get the graphic novel,
thank you.
and I'm super excited for this game. I got some questions in the
Yeah,
chat here. Uh,
yeah.
this game seems like it will be combined arms game. So how much of a presence will things like tanks, planes, and drones have in game?
Oh, especially when you get to that battle space scale, it's going to be great. Like, so, and again, I don't have anything with me right here. Well, actually, maybe I do. Let me see. Uh, so, for instance, this is when we demoed the game at recently. Um, this is like one of our maps that like we had just printed out and laminated. This is actually the shop that we did. Like, this is the parking lot for the shop where we were doing the demo. So you were actually battling for the place that we were standing in.
Nice.
Uh, so you can see, like, this is a parking spot. So this is like a a tank will literally kind of fit in one of these zones, and that's what
Yeah.
we're calling them. These are zones, one of these larger 7 hex
Hmm.
areas. Um, but like, we absolutely want to be doing things like the mixed engagement, and having all those different things. So, wrong side. This is basically, this is, I think this is the crab. No, this is an Asher. Sorry, this is an Asher. So we have actuators there in the cockpit, kind of right in the center there, center front. Um, and so, like, this is the scale of what an Asher is, this is the scale of a human right here, right? So as actually things get bigger, the radius of that hex kind of size for the character sheets or their damage trackers increases. So a um, a tank is large enough so that what you'll see on like tanks is it'll be bigger than an Asher, obviously, because this is
Yeah.
just designed to kind of be bigger than a human.
Yeah.
But it will literally have, kind of take up this page, and you'll have the spot for the pilot, and the driver will be up front, and then you'll have literally spots for if that particular tank has a gunner seat, you
Yeah.
will see this is where the gunner is. And so if shots hit that spot, you can take out the driver and everybody else is fine. You can take out the tread and everything else is like, and it's stuck there, but everything else is fine. You can take out the the turret gunner. You can take, like, there's all of these different things that you'd be able to do. That's what the damage tracker system allows, is like hits to an area mean you're hitting that spot. But by that same token, like, you've got the drones, which are like our GRDs, are about this roughly human size, even though they're slightly smaller, but they just basically have less things to hit.
Yeah.
But then you've got things like the goblins, right? Those goblins are tiny, and they spread. So when you're shooting like an individual bullet, when they first come out, basically their template might be one of these smaller ones, but then as they start spreading out, they become larger and larger. And sure, I hit the area, but there's going to be a whole bunch of blank spots. You're like, yeah, you're shooting at a cloud. Like, you might not actually hit one of them, but that means things like flamethrowers. It means things like weapons that just spray a big area with something have a likelihood of actually impacting them. You don't need to do a bunch of damage to one of them. You need to do a little damage to all of them to actually take them out.
Okay.
So, like, the strategies for having combined arms will be very critical. Like, you need to know what it is that you're going up against, and or how to properly tactically take something like that out. And especially because the game isn't, even though it's land and sea, we've seen in the books, we've seen it, and we all know, all the battles aren't just between aliens and humans, right? There's a bunch of human on human, and maybe even alien on alien fights that might maybe happen.
Sounds like it. Who knows?
Yeah.
We can tell what they're doing.
Yeah. But so we wanted to have this be able to be done. Like, the ACE system is designed to be a combat system, or just so at that battle space scale, if people wanted to play literally just tank on tank, or multiple tanks and drones, and call in airstrikes, it's doable. Like, it scales to that. And you see things like, oh, in the role-playing game, I've made my character who is this, and we've leveled them up, and they're an amazing pilot for a tank. And it makes it so that the tank can do things that's a little bit beyond what a normal tank would be able to do, right?
Yeah.
Like that type of thing. Like, oh, you're running into obstacles. Normally, like, we're going to stop, come to us, like, go around these things. And somebody's like, no, I've done that before. And I'm like, I'm just going to be able to go through that about 1.5 times as fast as you, maybe even at full speed. I found that I could just ram my way through that one, so I'm just going to go. Like, so you really do get this feel of being able to take role-playing characters and scale them all the way up, or literally just take the pre-made stuff that we're going to have for, when we do tournaments and things like that, where you would be able to run, essentially at that battle space scale, tank on tank tournaments, or literally whole armies versus each other. And it's war. Sometimes things happen quickly, sometimes they happen slowly. And just like the books, once you engage doesn't mean that you should stay and fight to the death, right? It's, oh, this does not look good. We need to run, like, now, get out. Like, you'd rather take that loss of the battlefield than the loss of the war.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. We got another question from Marshall. Would a unit with PTSD in the RPG then have a penalty in the war game?
Yes. So if you are using that character, what we will eventually be looking to do is give the players tools for how things summarize. So like you would have your character be in that role, like the built in the role playing game, and it'll summarize it to their sheets and the cards and everything else like that. So it would just be like, oh yeah, they are using this weapon. Here's what that means. They do have these abilities. That's what this means. It does make modifiers. Um, they become less important at the battle scale game because again, like it's more based off of whole squads rather than individual units, unless you have like say the hero units type
Yeah.
of concept of like, no, I did spend a bunch of time, um, and when you look at the scale of this game, something that we've talked about regularly is one of the problems with things like BattleTech is scale when it comes to weapons. A pistol will shoot like the entire distance of this with zero problems.
Yeah.
Really, your sniper isn't on this battlefield.
Yeah.
Your sniper is 4 freaking mats away. It's almost like what they would did for artillery in BattleTech, which is like no, that's literally just a dude with a gun. Like yeah, he's shooting a mile away, 2 miles away, whatever, but it makes differences. But side note, you got your sniper sitting out there all alone, 4 mats away, and the foxes start seeing things, bullets coming in. Guess where they're running off to?
Yeah.
They're going to leave the crabs, and they're like, oh, good, there's somebody over there by themselves. I'm going to go, And so we again these, but that would be somebody as another player or that battle space commander, like running the opposition, going like, well, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to keep all my units here to get picked off by a sniper.
Yeah.
I'm going to do I have somebody who can run and go get over there in X period of, rounds? Then go do that. Go send that over. Get some support to at least disrupt him.
Yeah.
Even if you die, that's fine. You're going to save unit. Like the aliens aren't faceless, brainless drones. That's one of the differences for Land and Sea, and what Brent and Blaine have done is they're smart. They are characters in and of themselves. There's no like you've got bosses who come back. You've got these characters that are on the side. They hold grudges. They are intelligent. They make mistakes. They based off of emotion. So like all of these things are things that we have to factor in the game, because like it's not just, oh yeah, here are a couple aliens on the board and then you're going to fight them.
Yeah.
And like we could do hordes or like the waves, and like there are plenty of ways to set up specific scenarios of that, and if that's what makes you happy, play that way. It's just bring them on wave after wave, and like, but you're gonna like a GRD comes in at the end of every 3 rounds and drops off more supplies for you. But by the way, you better keep them alive, because it doesn't get to you. You're gonna have to run to it and pick that stuff up.
Yeah. I like that. That's cool. As far as the like with the goblins, how would a miniature look at that? Like, so you release the goblins, and there's like a little bit, and there's a little bit more. Like, what's that miniature gonna look like?
Yeah. So we go back and forth on the goblin specifically because it's the most dynamic in terms of miniatures. We've seen like we've done little clouds of them with like basically jumping out and like a whole bunch of things coming off of that hex base. And then really it starts to just basically almost become they're an area of effect, right? So you might have the center or one of the hexes in a zone have the miniature in it, but basically you're going to have a template that's going to be that the growing area of effect. Almost again, it's like a gas that's expanding, and if you're in that zone and those goblins are there, like, guess what? You're getting bit, right? And so you're like, and the concept of the zones makes things a little bit easier, where again, like it at least gives us a designation of like how area of effect things happen. Like I shoot an RPG at a specific spot, like at a character unit, the ground, right? And that type of thing. And like it's the zones just give us like, this is a thing. And anything, especially in combat, everything is fluid. So instead of saying, I'm in base contact with you and your hex and my hex, like the hex I'm in and the hex you're in touch, like, nope, you're in base contact if you and I have a hex in our bases that are in the same zone. The moment you're in the, like, if you have a hex that's in that zone and I have a hex that's in that zone, we're considered base to base,
Mm.
because like every round of the combat, especially in the miniatures game, is roughly 2 to 5 seconds. We keep that vague because battle is, you don't know.
Yeah.
It literally, that fog of war of, time dilates. So it's roughly 2 to 5 seconds, and in the 2 to 5 seconds, if somebody's 6 to 10 to even 20 feet away from you, in 2 to 5 seconds, they're on you, right?
Yeah.
There's, if they wanted to, they're there. If you wanted to step away, you stepped away. So we keep that zone. It makes it so that also when you're moving in the tabletop miniatures, when I talk about that whole summarization, I don't have a hex movement value of 17. I can move 3 zones. So as the math of that is like, okay, I can literally go 1, 2, 3. You don't have people spending a half an hour figuring, okay, 1, 2, turn, 1, 2, 3. Okay, another turn. No, no, I got to go back because I need to get around this. Like, no, it's just, did you get there? You can move 1, 2, or 3 hex like zones, and just move, just get there. And that's the, like, again, it's the, you're making decisions in wartime,
Mm.
and just figure it out.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Right. Are you guys? Is this going to be kind of a like you're going to order it all online kind of thing, or are you guys going to have it in game shops?
Oh, you are asking great questions. So I was actually going to get into this tonight. One of the things, like I said, that when we say that we're fan oriented, we will be releasing print and play options for the game. So base game, especially for kind of like early fans, early adopters, we're going to be releasing very soon some print and play of our miniatures and the cards and the rule sets so that people can start playing and getting us feedback. Uh, and so we don't care if you print off 50, 60, 100 of these specific poses, these specific units. Those are like great. That means that you enjoy this, sharing it with friends, taking it to your local game stop or game shop, and play. Like, please, that's you, you're sharing with somebody else something that you enjoy, and it's ours. Like, why would I want to stop you from doing that?
Yeah.
But like from there, we're gonna have sets that we will be releasing. We've been going over recently basically our first 4 releases for the game. And that first one is going to be that kind of print and play for our play testers and those fans who want to have that available to them to just start getting involved and know and share it with them, like their friends or their family or anything else like that. We just view that as a way for people to learn the game and give us feedback and start spreading the word about it. And
Yeah.
then from there, the next one we'll be doing a Kickstarter that will be the first base set. That first base set will be based on the Battle for the Pentagon. If
Oh heck
you
yeah.
remember that from that,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
the earlier, yeah.
I mean,
So
Kane's my favorite character. I mean, the Whoop Ass 2 is kind of, I don't know, they're making
yeah,
a,
yeah.
a bid for first for the Kane, but
Kane, Kane. Why does Kane ring a bell? Because Kane will absolutely be part of that, that original set. So
heck yeah.
um, just keep in mind that that will be, yeah, the battle for the Pentagon, uh, the maps and everything that will be putting out for part of that. And again, remember the scale for the initial sets of games are all going to be the tabletop miniatures game. We want people to be able to play quickly, get familiar with a lot of the concepts, and again, one of the things we wanted to do is get people into game stores,
Hmm.
so get in there, do the playing. You could have Friday Night Magic type of thing, just like going out there. We would love to eventually start doing things like prize support on that same concept. We really want to be supporting local game shops and fans, so having some of the exclusive units be available as prize support, not just through purchase, not through print, but actually making those available. We want to do things like making some exclusive, 3D models for game shops themselves. Like if you become a game shop and you're helping us and you're supporting us, promoting us, like here are things that you can do to like here's a 3D model that you get to print out so that people can come and buy, and it's like an exclusive thing. They don't get that online. They don't get
Yeah.
that even from us. Like they're going to those places and getting something that um, is unique. And as we branch out and up right now, obviously there's so few of us at Creative Juggernaut, so it's
Mhm.
difficult to create things at scale. But we would love to do things like uh, we want people to submit like, oh yeah, no, again, Brent's initial idea for the game was I want people to read the books, and then I want them to play a game where what they say is, here's how I would defend my area. Here's what I would do. Like, oh, I'd go down to the Costco, I'd get all of these things, I'd set up a defense there. I do like, or there's this hill, there's a like with a church on the top of it, or like an old battlement that's there, and I would absolutely go there and like create this area. Like, so we want people to be involved
Mhm.
with the game in a way that like connects to them and their area. So when we start like bringing in local game shops, we want them to have that same feeling. Like not just here's like I can show that like we'll be releasing rule or like the when I say rules, I mean like the methods for what scale do I go to Google Earth and
Yeah.
and how do I apply this map so that I can literally just print off at Kinko's or FedEx or whatever, or in my own shop if I've got a printer.
Yeah.
Here's the scale I print that off at. So you can go and play the battle for your local game shop. You can go play like you bring that out and you're like, okay, uh yeah, playing just the fun scenarios of I've got to get to school. Like, okay, great, let's get to school. Because again, not everything is about battling. It could be about I'm building a stealth character, and what I find is fun is literally avoiding combats while I'm going through, and I get better and better and better at that. Like eventually you're just like, oh no, I'm a stealth master, and so when I get recruited, like they're like, oh hey, we need intel, or we need to get something from like something was taken down that had intel on the far behind enemy lines, and you're like, great, that's my job. And like I want players who have that type of like one of my favorite games growing up was it was a video game called Silent Storm, and it was this role-playing real-time game, but once you engaged in combat it switched to a turn-based combat
Mhm.
system. Environment fully destructible. You could play it very XCOM, like early XCOM style, Laser Squad esque, where
Mhm.
you like. And one of my favorite things to do was I built a sniper whose whole thing was just stealth. Like it was just I'm just gonna go stealth mode the entire time, and you start to see that and like, oh, Skyrim, just go stealth. Like it's a
Yeah.
it's a very common tactic to do, but we were all young and the internet wasn't around, so we were all figuring this out.
Oh, that's good stuff. It was a rough life before the internet, man.
Yeah, yeah. See, I'm 43, and so it was the internet showed up while I was in high school. Like, and that was in high school. It was you would literally go and get magazines from the store so that you could get the AOL. So you would have like I got 100 hours
Yeah.
of online time, and you would literally just cycle through the CDs to get continue the 100 hours or whatever to of dial up. Um,
I think I was like 10. I would wait like 20 minutes or whatever just so I could go online and look at lizards or whatever.
like when you're loading pictures and it did like line by line of the pixels. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, oh, that's not the one I was looking for. Crap.
Let's see, Marshall. So it sounds like this game will have lots of fun AOE abilities. Will splash be easily calculable and just distributed?
Yes. Yeah, and so we were able to demonstrate that as well as that, like when we did the demo at the convention, Galaxy's Edge convention, where one of the base units of the Marines has an RPG,
Hmm.
and the Asher that they were using has multiple weapons that have splash damage on it, and so you can do things like target a character which you might miss. You can target the ground, which is a bit easier, but then you're not doing direct damage. You're doing that, you are doing splash damage. And there are things like each one of the types of splash damage is not splash damage. Throwing incendiary grenade is not the same as a high explosive grenade.
Okay.
A frag grenade is also not the same as a high explosive grenade. So each one of the weapons, has their own distinct properties for what splash looks like. But one of the main ways that we do that is that zone system. And then also, one of the, again, like this is a bad print job of it, so bear with me. But, the way that the character sheets are designed, especially these damage trackers, this is essentially a 3-dimensional model of the 3D model, just squished.
Okay.
So the reason I say that, or how I say that, is essentially, if I attack you from this side over here, that's literally the things that are on. I don't know if this is reversed on your cameras, screens, whatever, but this is the left side of that unit.
Okay.
And so on the left side of this Asher, they have like their left hand. That's the arm that has the ACR 30. That's the arm then that has some power shells. And so if I come at you from this side, I'm actually basically it's a bell curve with centered on that where your center mass is coming from that side. So my likelihood of hitting center mass is greatest, and then it veers off to the right and left. And so when splash damage occurs, it's the same thing. The template that gets applied is basically applied through here, and if it breaks through that spot because you do more damage than that specific thing has, then it literally just eats in. So splash damage can happen from anywhere, and when it hits, like again, you can see humans are squishy. And so when blast damage, that AoE stuff hits humans, it just chews right through them.
Yeah.
But if I'm here or you're here and I'm here and it hits right here, again, you might actually save my life by it going through and eating through your body. So like there's tactics involved with where you're placing people. There's tactics for, again, like I've taken a bunch of shots on my Asher on that right-hand side, and I know that they're coming in with some acid weapons. I'm literally going to be presenting my left side to you. Because as that acid's coming in, like it's going to chew through, like I've got maybe even some holes in my cockpit. If it splashes to my cockpit, that's on the pilot now, not on the actual armor.
Yeah.
So like that splash damage is vital for being able to manage both as an attacker and a defender.
Well, that sounds pretty gnar. I like that. Meltdown asks, I wonder how melee would be treated in this game.
We're all going to say that different, but and melee is a wonderful aspect in the game. And you'll start to experience it right away. The crabs, again, so some of the base crab units that are in that print and play set, they don't have ranged weapons. They're coming in for melee. And when they come in and hit, they're hitting hard. And so just like a weapon will have a specific template for how its damage is applied, when the crab comes in and it's hitting with the big claw has a template that's going to, and it, let me see if I've got the actual damage template right here. Give me a second. Well, this isn't the right one, but it'll give you a good understanding. Because the crab's damage template for its claw isn't this triangle. It's the diamond of the 4 X's like this. And you can see, compared to the size of a human, those 4 is essentially there we go, most of the body of the human. And so when it hits, and again, like these things are larger than, they're way stronger than humans. And so when they hit, it's going to do some damage. And if they're using it in the pincer mode, it's actually a slightly different damage template. It's basically a 3 and a 1, and the 1 is on the one side and the 3 are on the other. So it's basically actually grabbing onto stuff. So the way that damage gets applied is the same way as you would apply a shot, but It's based off of the physical strength of that, and then if there's any modifiers, like, well, yeah, it's a blade, so it's one of the differences in our damage system, how it's actually done is um, weapons have uh, kind of two main ratings
Hmm.
about them. One is their impact rating, and the other is the penetration.
Okay.
So um, you can have something that's like a laser, which doesn't have an actual lot of impact, but its penetration power is enormous.
Yeah.
So those two things correspond to in armor or in like the things that you're hitting, they have a durability and a hardness. And those two things are different. Like I might have a very low durability but really high hardness, and you've got to overcome that hardness. But as soon as you do, it's broken. It's not
Okay.
going to be able to do anything. You might have things that's like, oh, I'm not really hard. Like the shots are going through, but it's just gonna the durability is just gonna stay there. It's like
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's things are that are higher penetration are gonna get through, but that spot is still just gonna keep taking shots. It's not like if I hit this specific spot with a laser and it penetrates that specific armor, that doesn't mean that the next shot that hits that spot is like that armor's all gone. Like
Yeah.
it literally was a laser hole. Like that doesn't mean shooting a bullet at that. We're
John
not
Wick.
anime. It's not. I didn't shoot a bullet through the exact hole that
Yeah.
goes right into your internals because a laser hit there.
A dead shot.
Uh, yeah. But you'll see things like, and we've had some players at demos. Like the crab came up and hit the cockpit of an Asher
Hmm.
and didn't go through, but it weakened it. And so the next time another one of the other crabs came over and actually hit Anna, like literally that template, the diamond template, only one of the hexes overline or overlaid with the previous hit, but that one spot was already weakened. So it went straight in and just like damaged, like it basically cut off the leg of the pilot who's sitting in the Asher. And like the rest of the thing is fine, but it's like a dented cockpit and a dented side, but right where those two spots overlaid, like it went in and it's like, oh crap. Sorry, dude. Not a good time.
Took a bad shot there. Uh,
Right.
Meltdown. Also, another question. Will there be a version of the game available for a program like Tabletop Simulator?
Ooh. I mean, maybe eventually. I mean, I'm a huge digital fan, so that would be great. Um, we're, Brent Evans is our not only our CEO, but he does art director, and he's been excellent in making it so that our art assets are wonderfully interchangeable for being able to do things like put them into a video game,
Hmm.
or not that we're making a video game.
Are
Um,
you sure?
Not that we're not making a video game, uh, but we wanted to make sure that again, like so on the covers of the books when you're seeing like that the lion,
Hmm.
that's made
It's the background
from
for the stream.
the 3D model for the lion, which is literally the 3D model that we're using to print, which is literally that model then gets translated into the stats and the sheets. So like everything is based off of the same stuff. So when we do decide to go to um, something digital in terms of game or video or anything along those lines, like we wanted to make sure that we're a small team and we're trying to be as efficient as possible. Having to redo all those art assets and then make them match would
Yeah.
be a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
He's gone through that. He's smart, and I'm continually learning from him in like, okay, got it. That's why you were being a stickler on this particular thing, is because it's going to save us a bunch of time and money, um, and make I'm a nerd, and I'm always, like, I'm one of those guys who's like looking at the 3D model and then reading the printout of a unit going, that doesn't match. Like, why would they do that? That doesn't match. So it really, having like our Asher, like that, like the equipment Bible, where all of those things, like, okay, I know that again, it's ACR 30 on that left arm. I know that that particular one is going to be able to, like, it's designed for an engagement of, basically like its power supply is supposed to allow it to do a full engagement for a half an hour or something along those lines. So, like, is that one, does it have hot swappable power supplies? Is it, that type of thing, the power
Yeah.
cells, how are those reloaded? So it helps to have all of those things thought of ahead of time to save yourself pain so that you can do things like digital assets that are part of a tabletop game, like the digital
Yeah.
tabletop or whatever.
Nice. Um, do you guys design your models in house, or do you guys outsource that to an artist?
Um, we, Brent and Blaine really go through what the look and feel of the thing should be, and then Brent does his magic with uh oftentimes he'll do some rough sketches in hand, like, and go out and source to people who he knows and trusts to. We have um artists who are organic and artists who are inorganic. So for the things like the equipment versus the aliens and whatnot. And
Mm.
so he's got different people that he works with for that type of thing. I am not artistically inclined like one freaking bit. So no, I, I'll nitpick all day long. Like I know what should and shouldn't on some of those things, but, um, when we first got started, again, like my joke title was Chief Science Officer. So, um, and so like you know, had a lot of say in, like, when we talk about like how are those lasers powered? Like I literally designed the system that would be realistic
Hmm.
for how that works. Like, so Blaine is like he's like, hey, I want this. This is how it should be. And like, yeah, and that's why, yeah, lasers, no, they're not visible, right? That the noise that they make when they're doing that, it's because, again, like the noise he talks about is us sitting around and talking. Like, here's the science behind those power shells. Here's how they work. Here's how, like, literally these things, like, here's the amount of energy that comes out of them. How many you have to pop in order for, this megajoule of laser to be fired. Um, so each of us have our strengths. Art is not mine. So if you want to talk more about that, please go talk to Brent.
All right, sounds good. Uh, Meltdown asks, how much real estate will the games take on the table?
Mm. So that is a great, great question. Uh, our default that we're going to be looking at for a standard kind of like squad on squad, the TTMG quick battle, um, should be about one to two of these. So about this size.
Oh, okay.
And the way that we do that actually is, you can have pre-printed out maps that are like these, or what we will actually be doing for like for competition or competitive stuff is, um, it's not a full printed out map. Part of your army, like developing your army or bringing your army, is bringing in the zones. So each one of these are actually tiles.
Hmm.
And so you would bring in, like, we're playing a battle space, or the battle space is going to be, you bring 20 tiles and I bring 20 tiles. And part of setting up is literally going back and forth and placing them.
Okay.
So, like, if you've got units who are specialized in jungle, or you are bringing a zone that has a command tent in it, which gives you a bonus for doing certain things like being able to communicate back and forth, or whatever. Um, but you've got to defend that now, right? And it took some of
Yeah.
the points away from what you're trying to actually build in terms of your other units in your squad. Um, but or like I've got a sniper, so I'm going to actually have a tower, right? I'm going to have a zone
Yeah.
that has a tower on it, so I can actually get a sniper, so they have line of sight across the entire battlefield. Like, okay, great, but remember, if somebody comes over with acid and like destroys that tower, that dude's on there. Like that's there are, and or you start constructing that going back and forth. Like, oh, you placed a small hill right here. Well, I'm going to try and place a building to block that. So the battle starts before the battle begins. Like it, when you read like um, old Marcus Aurelius and Sun Tzu, and you get into like the strategy of warfare again, like that battle begins on determining your battlefield. And if you choose a bad battlefield, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And so we wanted that to be part of it as well. And so literally being able to kind of go back and forth and so you could do like the starter set will come with a map that has all pre-made one. So we're not, not even when you're learning the game, it's built. It's a pretty open map and with some low walls and some like some overturned cars for people to hide behind or use as cover.
Yeah.
Um, but otherwise, like people will start to have zones that are like that. We'll be releasing zone packs that people are like, oh, you can literally construct from one of the books. This is this intersection in LA,
Nice.
literally in zone format with the the burned out husks of cars again and the rubble from this building that's collapsed and all these other things. And it's literally now I get to play on that battlefield rather, and you can do scenarios like we're playing here versus we're going to do a full competition of you bring some zones, I bring some zones, and we could build that map out for us to play on.
Gotcha. I don't know. Maybe you guys haven't got this far into it yet, but with the Trident rigs, is there going to be underwater combat in underwater zones?
We will see the advent of underwater combat within the land and sea games. That's all I'm willing to discuss right now. So, but you will see the battle being taken to the fish,
Nice. That'd be cool.
but that will be way later. Like I said, we've got our first 4 releases that we are focused on, and all of those are land. Everything there is land, but it wouldn't be a land and sea thing if we didn't already have like some plans for how underwater or aerial combat will work.
Mhm. Sounds good. Are you allowed to say when this is gonna the what did you say it was the print and play? Like when that's gonna
Yeah, the
be
print and play.
out? Yeah.
Well, we're going to be we just got our Patreon set up, and that Patreon will have the ability to have a few models ready for print and play. What is today? It's
Friday the
December
20th.
20th. Um, I think we'll have like a model available next week.
Ooh. Nice.
Uh, so like I said, we want to kind of start getting people involved with playing, not waiting until the very end and releasing something and then people going, eh. Like we recognize that the people who are involved at this level are fans and super fans and nerds and super nerds,
Hmm.
and we're a small team. So getting your feedback, getting you involved, getting you excited is something that we want to see. So yeah, I will be dropping kind of into the Discord and then into some other places a link to our Patreon
Nice.
for at the beginning, it's literally just going to be like the one level of being involved and having access to the 3D files, and then so as we start to release 3D files, and then the character cards and whatever, so you can just start printing off units to play around with. I know there's a random shout out to Miguel, who's been on the Discord and on Facebook and
Yeah.
whatnot for. He's been very excited. I know he's been printing his like making his own units. He's
Yeah,
like,
his own
this is
version.
a sub for a crab.
Yeah.
It's not a crab, but I'm going to use it for a crab. And so I'm like, well, uh, we should have that available to you soon, Miguel.
Yeah. I like his pictures. He makes some cool minis.
Yeah,
But yeah, when you put that when that Patreon link gets in the Discord, I'll link it to this video as well in case anyone down the road is watching. They can click on it.
that'll come out this weekend.
Sweet.
So we'll have that available for you this weekend, and then what we're hoping to do is, I'm not going to promise anything for Christmas, but Christmas is a really great time to have some new toys to play with, right?
Yeah, sure as heck is. Oh man, that was. You guys in the chat got any more questions? I don't know. I think, man, you answered a lot of my questions. I don't know if I've got anything left to ask you. That was That was awesome. I'm super pumped for this game.
Awesome, thank you.
Do you have a?
Me too. Again, like it's occupied a lot of my life for a long time now, and like I said, our main goal is just to try and match the look and feel of the books and the brutality of war, but being able to scale it so that it can be fun, right?
Yeah.
It's this is a game. It isn't war. It is a game, and so um, we haven't even gone into like how the actual ACE system works, like some of those things that make ACE different and unique
Mm.
from other gaming systems. But we should begin soon.
Yeah, for sure. Marshall has one last question. Do you have a turtle model? We want to see the turtle.
uh, we have the artwork,
Nice.
and I think we have some 3D modeling on the turtle done. I'm not positive that it's finished, but I have seen the renderings of a turtle with bosses hanging off of it. It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, those things are gnarly. I like that. Like instead of having vehicles, it's all just biological creatures. My school
Yeah.
bus or my assault vehicle is just a giant lizard that swims and jumps really far.
Yeah.
Meltdown says, "Will there be space in the future?" Oh, yeah. I guess we're taking the fight into the stars. I don't know.
Uh, uh, uh,
I don't know if you're allowed to say
like I
something like
said,
that.
yeah, there's, um, I'll focus on the game.
Okay.
The game system is designed, like I said, uh, water is also a 4D type of
Yeah.
space, right? Like that 4D design. It's just different fluid mechanics around, the gravity and whatnot. And um,
Plus, like a huge
but the
speed
concept
difference
of
between the subs and the tridents.
yeah, yeah, and the concept of like um, if you are in an Asher, but gravity still works in water. It doesn't work in space, but it works in water. And so, like if you're in the Asher rig and you you step out and you're not in one of the suits that are designed to propel themselves through water, it's gonna suck really quick. Like that it's like I said, it's a 4D space. It goes down. But as far as the actual series, the IP taking it to space, we've already seen a space engagement
Yeah.
of some way, shape, or form. So well, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, I'd be definitely interested in having you back on and talk more about the your guys' actual system. It's called is this called ACE system?
Ace. Yeah,
ACE
yeah,
is ACE. Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Cool.
And that's the two biggest things are like again the three ability, circumstance, and equipment, and then also the concept of the rolling a one is best.
Oh, okay. I just had a question. It just fell out of my head. Oh, that's
So
right.
write it down. We'll do it. We'll do this again soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it, Eric.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for thinking about it and then thinking of me to come on over. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love talking nerdy stuff.